So there I am. I'm 60 years old and completely broke. Savings are gone, credit cards are maxed out, and for the first time in my life, I had to call a friend and ask to borrow money. It was absolutely mortifying. But here's the crazy part. What I did next surprised everyone, including me. And it's probably not what you're thinking right now. So rewind 10 years. I'm a fairly successful financial advisor, but I get this wild idea to chase an online business dream. So I walk away from the financial career like a complete lunatic. My husband asks for a divorce in 2009, when the whole world was basically falling apart financially. Stay with me because the real breakthrough came from the most unexpected place. Okay, so let me paint you a picture of how spectacularly everything can go wrong at once. It's like life decided to play a really mean joke on me. It's 2008, I'm doing well as a financial advisor, although, to be honest, I didn't really have a passion for stocks and bonds. I get this burning desire to build something online after reading the book, The 4-Hour Workweek. So I do what every crazy entrepreneur does. I walk away from my financial advisor career. What could go wrong, right? Well, 2009 happens. My husband comes to me and says he wants a divorce. Now, timing in life is everything. And this wasn't just any year. This was when the housing market crashed, when everyone's portfolios were in the toilet. We had to sell our house at literally the worst possible time. We'd bought high and sold low, which was a classic mistake. Everything we'd built together, poof, gone. So there I am sitting with no income, some savings, and this ridiculous confidence that I could rebuild easily. I mean, I'd moved from South Africa to America all by myself and built a successful new career. How hard could starting over be? Well, let me tell you, starting over at 50 is absolutely nothing like starting over at 30. Nothing. Now you might be thinking, surely someone with financial experience would have seen this disaster coming, right? Well, that's exactly what made what happened next so much worse. But stick around, because the lesson I learned from my biggest failure eventually saved me. What followed was what I now lovingly call my wilderness years. And boy, were they wild. I went through this major personal growth phase, healing from my past, going deeper into who I really was, which was absolutely necessary. But personal growth doesn't pay the bills. At the same time, I'm learning everything I can about technology, websites, online business. I'm building, I'm trying, I'm learning like a woman possessed. But nothing really took off. I considered regular jobs here and there, but when I looked around, there was nothing that fit. I'd been an entrepreneur my whole adult life, so I wasn't really employee material. Plus, I had zero employment history in the US. Who's going to hire someone with that kind of resume? So I kept slogging on, looking for the right online business. Then my daughter and her husband decided to move from California, where we all lived, to Oregon. Since they were literally my only family in the country, I thought maybe I can start something new there. And you know what happened? For the first time in years, something actually worked. I started this little business calling myself TechSavvy Sofia. One of my friends said, "Sophia, you're so good at helping people with technology. Why don't you make this a business?" That was a light bulb moment for me. In this adorable small Oregon town, there were so many people over 50 who weren't tech savvy at all. So I helped them with their devices, troubleshooting, software, computers, phones, everything. This business really took off and I was finally making a living income again. At this stage, I'd already burned through most of my savings. So there I was, finally making it work and paying my bills again. I thought I'd figured it out this time. But life had one more curveball that would teach me the most important lesson of this entire journey. My precious grandson was born. The kids decided they'd rather move to where my son-in-law's family was in Tennessee. And there's absolutely no way I'm staying on the West Coast when my only family is on the East Coast. So after 20 months in Oregon, I packed up and moved to Tennessee. Well, my tech business was gone overnight, except for some remote clients I could keep. I thought I could start something similar in Tennessee, but the whole environment was completely different. It's a city. People were way more tech savvy. It just didn't take off. I rented a room in a house with this lovely woman I became friends with and kept pursuing online business. I built a website here and there for people, which helped a bit. But by this point, I'd become such a hermit, spending so much time in front of the computer. Just me and my laptop trying to make something work online. But here's the thing nobody tells you about hitting rock bottom. Sometimes that's where you need to be to find what you're really made of. At 60, I was more resilient and confident than I'd ever been in my younger years. Being broke didn't break me. It revealed this unshakable core I never knew I had. Little did I know that this move to Tennessee, which felt like another complete failure, was actually teaching me to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that skill of adapting to new environments became exactly what employers were looking for. But first, I had to lose it all. By 60, I had depleted all my savings. I was so broke that for the first time in my entire life, I had to borrow money from a friend. I cannot tell you how much I hated doing that. It was honestly the most scary time of my life. I knew I needed to do something and fast. What I did became the unexpected bridge to everything that came next. And I'm about to tell you why this was actually the smartest thing I could have done. I started driving for Uber and Lyft. It was good because it got me out of hermit mode. I'm naturally more of an introvert, but I have to say I really enjoyed some of those rides. Such a variety of characters, from very wealthy people to college students to those with tattoos and missing teeth. Overall, they were all actually very nice people. They loved my accent and kept asking me where I'm from. And they found it absolutely fascinating that I was living on my third continent. Those Uber rides taught me something about human nature that I'd forgotten during my hermit years. And that lesson became my secret weapon in job interviews. Uber driving got me out of my shell and back into socializing, but more importantly, it got me thinking differently about what I needed to do next. So in the meantime, I started looking for regular jobs, which felt weird after being an entrepreneur for so long. And then I saw this opening for a 401k administrator account manager. I thought, okay, I don't have a passion for stocks and bonds anymore, but maybe my financial background will help. And you know what happened? I got that job pretty quickly because they realized I could relate to the financial advisors who brought 401k clients. I understood their world completely. That unexpected place where the breakthrough came was a 401k administrator job. The very industry I thought I'd left behind became my salvation. But this time I had wisdom I never had before. That was such a huge relief because I literally had nothing. It wasn't a high salary, but after earning nothing for so long, it felt like winning the lottery. For the first few paychecks, I paid off my friend. That was absolutely non-negotiable for me. So things were looking up. But remember that lesson I promised you? The one about why being broke was actually a gift? Here it comes, and it's the key to everything I'm doing now at 66. I actually really enjoyed my relationship with my 401k clients. One of them liked me so much that they hired me away when I was 63. So I started that first job at 60, well, actually a month before my 61st birthday. And get this, 1 week before COVID hit and we all went into lockdown. Talk about timing, right? But then we all worked remotely for quite a while, which turned out to be perfect for me. After almost 2 years at that firm, I took a new remote job with what had been my client, a New York company. And that's where I still am today. But I have this real entrepreneurial spirit that just won't quit. Freedom is my big thing. Freedom and autonomy. And although I have quite a lot of that in my current job, I don't have complete freedom. I'd love to visit my son and granddaughter in South Africa and my mom and brother in Austria, where I was born. So I've been working on building something on the side again. This YouTube channel is part of that adventure. At 66, still working full-time, I'm building my version of freedom. And now I'm going to share the 5 things I desperately wish I'd known when I was broke at 60. Because if you're facing your own restart, these could literally save you years of struggle. First thing, and this is huge, learn as much as you can about technology, even if you're older. I honestly think my knowledge of tech and learning new tools has been one of the biggest helps in this whole crazy process. My company absolutely values that I'm seasoned and have tons of experience, but so many people my age are terrible with technology. Learn about tech, even AI stuff. You can actually have AI teach you about AI. How cool is that? Second thing, companies value the work ethic of older, more mature people way more than those of young people. You may have a much better chance than you think, as long as you sharpen certain skills that are needed. But here's what really surprised me about ageism in the workplace. And this might completely change how you approach your next job search. Most age discrimination actually happens because older people discriminate against themselves. We do it to ourselves. Third thing, don't think of yourself as old. I've never inherently thought of myself as old. I've always had a good sense of humor, and that has been an absolute lifesaver. Even in the most difficult situations, I still try to laugh. It's honestly the best medicine. As my Austrian mother always says, attitude is everything. And you know what? She's absolutely right. It's all about your attitude. Fourth thing, I found that there were people younger than me who felt they were too old. Women especially undervalue themselves and don't have the confidence to ask for more. Like ask for more money, ask for a raise, ask for what they deserve. And speaking of confidence, the one thing that separates people who rebuild successfully from those who give up has absolutely nothing to do with money or skills. The secret is this: you have to stop trying to rebuild your old life and start building a completely new one. That's everything. And finally, sometimes being broke teaches you what really matters. Sometimes the detour is the path. But there's one more thing I absolutely need to tell you. The mindset shift that made all the difference between my failed attempts and my success. This is a thing I desperately wish I'd understood from day one. It's this. I stopped trying to rebuild my old life and started building a completely new one. That's the difference between just surviving a restart and actually thriving in it. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that being broke at 60 was fun. It absolutely wasn't. It was terrifying and humbling and awful. But it taught me that resilience isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up, even when you think you absolutely can't. Even when everyone around you expects you to just settle. If I hadn't lost everything, I never would have discovered that my age and experience are actually huge advantages, not liabilities. I never would have learned that starting over at 60 taught me things that starting over at 30 never could have. I'm 66 now, still working, still building, still figuring it out. And you know what? That's perfectly okay. If you're watching this and you're facing your own restart at 50, 60, or any age, please remember this. Your experience isn't a liability. Your age isn't a deadline. And your absolute best chapter might still be ahead of you. I'd love to hear your story in the comments. What restart are you facing right now? What's actually working for you? And if this resonated with you at all, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. I share the real honest journey of building freedom after 50. No sugarcoating, no overnight success stories, just practical strategies that actually work in real life. So thanks for listening to my story, and I'll see you in the next one. Remember, your best chapter might be just around the corner.